Hello. Today we are going to discuss the Stopler-Samuelson theorem. The Stopler-Samuelson theorem says that in 1951, W. Stopler, two economists, W. Stopler and Paul Samuelson, worked out from the HO theory. Means they were working in the HO theory. But after some time, they worked out from the HO theory concerning the effect of trade on income distribution, and the which thing he decided to work out from this theory concerning the effect of trade on income distribution. He said that what is the effect of trade on income distribution? On income distribution means how much money people have and how much money is sharing among the people, like that. As per the theorem, the free trade will benefit the relatively abundant factor and hurt the relatively scarce factor of production. So, as per this theory, it is said that when the trade is established, the country which has factor abundance, he will get benefited and another will get hurt. This Stopler-Samuelson theorem said that. Before Stopler-Samuelson theorem, there is another theorem that is called factor classification theorem, which I have already discussed with you. It is said that if the country is capital abundant country, after the trade, the country will be labor surplus country because he exported the capital intensive goods. As a result, the capital becomes scarce and labor becomes high because he is importing labor intensive goods. Like that, after some time, there will be equilibrium between them. But if suppose Samuelson theorem said that the country which has factor abundant, he will get benefited. The country which is get uh, less factor abundant will get hurt. There are some assumptions. Two goods, let's say steel and cloth. Steel is capital intensive goods, cloth is labor intensive goods. To factor production, labor and capital, which is constant. Production function are homogeneous at degree 1. Degree 1 means constant return to scale function. Country is assumed to be labor abundant and capital scarce. It is assumed that country is to be labor abundant country and assumed to be capital scarce. Perfect competition in factor and product market. There is perfect competition in factor and product market. International trade supply demand fixed into international competition. Let's understand this with a diagram. It is called Edward diagram. On this diagram, on this axis we have taken capital. On this labor, capital, and this is labor. This is contractor and this is labor intensive contractor. You know that. Before we understand the Stopler-Samuelson theorem, we have already studied the factor-based equalization theorem, and the Stopler-Samuelson theorem is a part of factor-based equalization theorem. So we have to understand thoroughly what is factor-based equalization theorem. As I already told you, the factor-based equalization theorem is said that it is saying that the country, if a country is labor abundant country, but after the trade, the labor intensive goods will be exporting, then the labor becomes scarce. And the less capital abundant country will become more capital abundant country. This said that by the factor equalization theorem. But let's talk about Samuelson theorem. It said that the country will get benefited if he has more capital abundant or more labor abundant, or he will get hurt if he has less factor abundant. So, in this theorem, we have to assume that the country is labor abundant and the country is capital scarce. So, for the labor abundant country, we have to draw like a contract curve which is non-linear towards labor. Yes, here this point is the country producing like this point. More labor needed, less capital. This point. More labor, less capital. This point. More labor, less capital. As you know that at Q point, as Q point, the capital labor ratio of mode X is equal to the slope of QSC and the capital ratio of Y is the slope of QBD. As you know that, but when the trade is established, Means now the country is producing at Panda. Means the country capital level ratio to production exists where a C angle T and to capital level ratio worldwide which is produced by the country is needed R B T angle. T0 T1 for clock A and so S1 is B for steel. So T0 this isogon curve and T0 this curve and this curve for X, this curve for is Y. Steel. P0 B0 is sacrificed such a line. We consider positive constant or cost constant. Quarter K produce of Q operator right? K by L of X means clock. Angle QAC and angle RAC then before that angle QBT operated angle RBT. So you know that QAC angle QAC less than angle QBT. Angle Q angle QAC is less than angle QBT. From the diagram we can understand why the angle is less. It means that relative price of the cloth increases. It means relative price of the cloth increases. So cloth production increases the price of the cloth. Capital ratio is less than the is less relatively to country weak. So the relative price cloth increases because after trade he produces some more and he is producing more labor. He is producing more cloth. So price will be increases than the other country. So cloth production also increases. The resources from the steel industry will come or transfer to cloth industry at the lower price for unit capital release. So the factor or the factor which are working in the factor which are the factor which are working in the uh, steel industry. They are trying to move them from steel industry to cloth industry and expand their business. So more labor, price of more labor come, price of labor increases, demand increases and wage increases. So more labor comes, price of the labor increases and more labor also increases. If you take an real world application, let's suppose China is exporting his goods to America and in America there is seen a wage inequality. It is an example of which theorem? It is an indication or example of Samuelson theorem. Because to increase the cloth production, resources from steel industry come to cloth industry at a lower price. Because there is no need of steel, so there is no need of more labor. So labor comes to the cloth industry at the lower price for in the capital release. So more labor come, price of labor is more, and price of labor is more, then more will be source of money. Because at that time as well as the industry also growing very fast. This means the factor which are needed to expand the industry will get benefit from the percentage. The factor which is needed to expand the cloth industry will be get benefited because the demand is clearly seen for that factor. So if you take a diagram, this is the steel, this is the cloth, this is the pressure line. We know that this is the sacrifice ratio line. This is the other Q. This is the R. Before like that, here before that the economy is producing at Q. After that, economy producing at R. International trade will result in more favorable income distribution by labor surplus. It is said that the international trade after interest the country whose labor habitant will get more benefited and more favorable condition than the capital surplus countries. So suppose the theorem has great relevance to the less developed countries which are labor habitant condition we can know. So you want to understand why this is happening. Okay. So let's understand one. From above situation we take in the assumption that a country is labor habitant and is another capital share. So from this we know that a labor habitant country will get benefited, more labor is needed, more demand is needed, more wages will get. So I said that suppose the theorem is relevant to the less developed countries which are labor abundant and export promotion rather than import substitution should be adopted. So export promotion means more goods should be produced and more as a result export can be more. Import substitution means the government want to promote the domestic industrialization and the interest of the domestication. So they try to put some tariff, or they try to put tax. As a result, the foreigner do not demand so much. As a result, Indians do not demand the most more imported goods. So for this, should be adopted by those countries in order to achieve the twin, as it is the twin objective of the growth and distribution of an egalitarian type. So two things. So every less developed country try to achieve growth and distribution of an egalitarian type. So they should use the export promotion, not import substitution. The import substitution adopted through tariff and other practices. But Samuelson theorem makes a case against the import substitution or the use of tariff because only for labor surplus countries. So only for labor surplus countries they said that import substitution is not a good idea. It is completely disaster idea. So every country or less of the country should avoid it. They should use the which export promotion. Thank you.